Welcome to Beyond Classroom Management, the podcast where educators looking to improve their craft discuss topics of interest to other educators. My name is Ashley Marshall, my co-host is Michael Gibson, and this is Beyond Classroom Management.
All right.
The Blackboard Brothers are back again, episode 1 of Beyond Classroom Management. I think episode 0 was okay. I'm okay with it. I got a little feedback from my family about changing camera angles, so we're gonna see if we do a little bit better. My daughter told me how to sit properly. Gorilla style. So here we go. So today we wanted to talk about something I think that's important to both of us.
Yes.
The idea of decentering the teacher and centering the student. My wife always says, say it positively first. So centering the student and decentering the teacher. What does that mean to you, Michael?
It means that the needs of my student are always at the center of everything I do in the classroom. Mm-hmm. So academically and social emotionally, their needs are at the center. And so when I'm planning, when I'm troubleshooting, when I'm thinking about how to do things within the space, I'm thinking about their needs first. That's what it means to me. Now we can get into the details of different things about that. What about for you?
Yeah, I think just as a communicator, I'm always thinking about my audience. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing for me, but I'm always thinking, how is my audience going to receive this?
Right.
What are the needs of my audience? Mm-hmm. And of course, in this paradigm, it's the teacher-student.
Right.
But for me, I'm always thinking about how is this going to land with the people that I'm communicating it with.
And with that, where does the student voice come into that, into your thinking around this issue?
Right. Well, the student voice is really important. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because the more I look at, particularly in a Canadian context, when I look at, truth and reconciliation and decolonization work, and you start looking at other models that aren't, necessarily Western European based, you start really looking at teaching models that aren't centered around the teacher and what the teacher knows or wants to communicate, but models that are looking at the learner and what their path is and what their journey is. So to answer the question about student voice, it's very important. I think that's something I've learned as I've grown. Mm-hmm. I certainly didn't have that on right early on as a teacher. Mm-hmm. But I think student voice is very, very important. For yourself?
Yeah, it's not making any assumptions about my students. Right. It's taking stock of who is in my class, because that changes from year to year, from class to class. Right. And then once I know those two things, is building around that. And it often happens in collaboration with students, right? It's I almost never do things in isolation. It's always a dialogue between me and the students. It's going back and forth.
Can you give an example from your career where you see that?
I can give an example from today. Today I had a student who I had, she did a cultural, I noticed that she loved drawing and stuff like that. And so I said, hey, I want to introduce something to you. I want to see if you like it. And if you like it, then great. I said, I want us to design some tattoos for your art class. She said, oh, I like tattoos. I said, but what I want to do is I want to start with a henna tattoo, which is a cultural, she's like, oh, wow, I love that. And so, boom, I automatically kind of came at tattoos, but from a cultural perspective, where she could really get her cultural values and she could express herself in that way. So that's a way of introducing, a topic, but introduce it in a way that meets the students' needs where they are.
Right. So as an educator, what difference does it make to your outcomes if the student is helping to create what they're doing?
So in that henna tattoo project, I said, so now we have sort of this umbrella of henna tattoo. Now here's where the voice comes in. You go anywhere you want. You're free to go anywhere you want underneath that umbrella.
Right.
And it's important because I always get great buy-in because it's their idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And they get to reflect their culture inside of that umbrella, right? And the umbrella is wide, right? I don't restrict my students in that sense. Once we agree, they have the right to go anywhere they like to go.
Right.
And the outcomes are I get much better participation, and they tend to take it far deeper than I even plan for them to go.
Right.
Because they're invested in what they're doing.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It takes a measure of, I don't know if the word I'm looking for is humility, but probably flexibility as an instructor to be able to hear those moments.
Yeah.
And to be able to fully engage those moments, right? Because I think they come more often than we realize as educators.
Yes.
Like those moments are coming, but we're so locked into our plan, we're so locked into what we wanted to do that we sometimes miss those opportunities.
And I would say what it's taught me to do over the years, it's really taught me to trust my students. Like you have to trust them in that. And I find that the outcomes are far greater when we collaborate and I trust them to go where they want to go. And it does take time as an educator to have the confidence as well to say, okay, no matter where they go, I'm going to be able to hit all my curriculum points and be able to get what I need to get and teach them what they need to learn inside of whatever it is that they're going to come up with.
Right.
So it does take some, trust, and it does take some experience, but it's a far better and far more rewarding experience for the student to do it that way.
So what would you say then? Because I think some people who might be watching this, they might be go, well, Michael, you're a special education teacher. You got a lot of freedom, I got to teach whatever, X curriculum. I got to teach this math, or I got to teach this science or this English. And look at all my overall expectations and specific. Like, what would you say to someone who's in that sort of arrangement?
I would say that when you close the door to your classroom, you have the power to do what it is that you. Right. Like, I think that is, as an educator, we need to take that responsibility. That once I close my classroom, I have the professional judgment. And I also have the expertise to be able to do those things. Now,
that's a good point. Yeah.
You don't have to cover everything in every project or every lesson. So I do think it's important to pace ourselves.
Right.
And I do think it's important for us as educators to have those boxcar letter things that we absolutely have to cover, right? So I do make a distinction in the expectations around what are more important expectations and what are less important expectations.
And I think in Ontario they do that anyway because you've got the overall and the specific, right? And I think the idea of teachers identifying what are the essential questions or the big questions, having that govern where you're going in your teaching, I think that's important because then you can listen to those moments, right? And so I know before we started recording, we were talking about differentiated instruction. And the thing that's maybe even more of a passion for me is differentiated assessment. But then once you know, okay, we have to teach this big idea, but do I really care how it comes back to me? Not really, as long as the student can demonstrate that they understand this concept,
and do I really care what entry point, how they enter into that?
Yeah.
No. Whatever's most comfortable for them, whatever the student's strength is, I would encourage the student to enter in that way.
Right.
And be able to have the breadth of differentiated instruction so that they can enter based on their strength.
Yeah. So I was in PD the other day and we were talking specifically about AI, but we're having discussions around now it's more important because AI in some respects can create products. We have to nail down as educators on owning the process and teaching our students. And the example that I think connects with what we're talking about is we're talking with English teachers about, well, if AI can produce a reasonable essay that meets the provincial standard, then, well, one is, how important is the essay going forward? But more importantly, what is it about teaching essays? That's key. Again, essential understandings, right? So it's like, well, if I'm teaching my students how to take evidence and to make an argument, then they can do that without maybe writing the essay. Or they're going to write the essay and we know that AI is going to help them with the last part of it, but we're just going to look at the process. But those that can come in so many different ways. Like I sat with a student at the end of last year, and that student did a brilliant oral essay. And he ended up getting his credit, but he couldn't do that in terms of writing,
it's the
right?
thinking.
Yeah,
it's the
exactly.
Thinking. And a lot of times, unfortunately, over the years, we've gotten bogged up with the producing of the thing and not marking the actual thinking of the student, right? Exactly. And so it is for us to kind of make that switch to really hone in on helping students through those logic pieces and those thinking pieces.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's important in terms of decentering, because as an educator, when we are able to get rid of the ego, it's you come in and you're like, well, I got to teach this content and I got this many weeks and I'm going to just divide, the content by this number of weeks and I'm going to force it through. We come with that sort of ego and that sort of agenda. There's so many golden teaching opportunities that get lost in there.
Absolutely. And the truth is, if we really want to be honest with each other,
let's be honest, Michael.
Teaching is not about us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not about us. To the extent that we want to say it is, we are the facilitators of learning.
Yeah. Right? That's a great word.
So it's really not about us. So if we take that position that it's not about us, then it makes it a lot easier for us to step back and say, okay, well, wait a minute now. Okay, yes, I have lessons that I need to teach, but what does the student need?
Yeah.
Right? Because I've been in situations where it's like, I had an agenda that I was going to teach A, B, and C. Come to go into the class, they already know A, B, and C.
So what are we doing?
So now I made an assumption at the beginning of my class instead of, doing some exercises, doing some things as warm-ups in the first couple of classes to check the pulse of my class and check prior knowledge. And then base my plan on what I found out.
Correct.
Right? So these are just some of the things that, it's easy to make this mistake if you're just not paying attention.
And listen, I mean, some of the people watching this, we represent all kinds of different disciplines and teaching disciplines, right? So
environments too.
And environments as well. So, take what we're sharing and apply it to your situation. But I think what we're talking about ultimately is the teacher's ability to pivot in the classroom.
Yes.
Like to be able to read the situation and go, we're saying beforehand, this isn't going the way I thought it was going.
Yeah.
Or this isn't going the way I thought it was going.
Right. Yeah.
Like that same exact phrase, you could say.
And to be okay with both.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, this is really bombing. Or man, this is going, I wanted them to go left, they're going right, and right looks promising.
Yeah, let's take it there.
Let's take it there, right?
And lean into it with the students. There's a lot to be said about when students see you leaning into their ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it's also the reverse it's a lot for the students to see you recognizing that, oh, this is not landing, right? And then see you recognize that it's not landing and change.
Yeah.
There is the relationship part between you and your students that is also very important. They need to be able to see that. Right.
Yeah.
They need to be able to recognize, oh, my teacher, okay, he's seeing that, this is bombing.
Correct.
Right? Or he's seeing that we're going in this direction and he's excited about doing that.
And that I think we're going to be talking about that in a later episode, but that sort of vulnerability, that sort of humanizing of the teacher, where they can see us struggle, they can see us change, they can see us work through challenges, every teacher's had tech that just didn't work. The computer didn't work, the projector didn't work, this didn't work, that didn't work. And if you're pulling wires and cursing, they're learning.
Yes.
But if you're making jokes while you're doing it, they're learning.
If you're humble and say, hey guys, sorry, I don't know what's going on. Give me a couple of minutes. Let me see what I can do.
Yeah.
Right? All of those things are teaching moments.
Yeah, they are. So I hope this was helpful. We really wanted to look at, centering the student and the student voice and the student experience, and at the same time decentering the teacher. And I love your idea that as educators, it's not really about us at all anyway. So this has been episode 1 of Beyond Classroom Management. He is
Michael Gibson.
And I'm Ashley Marshall.